Welcome back to the video cast. I am so grateful to have David Dern here today. David, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for the space.
Yeah, I'm so excited for you to tell us about your business and what you're doing. So please take the floor, tell everybody what's inspired you to do what you're doing.
Well, I think for anyone who's, quote unquote, started their own business, it's usually out of, a frustration that they have had in their own personal life, where they have a specific need, but there's just nothing out there to address it. I mean, that's really where I came from. Always growing up as a quote unquote husky boy. I didn't have a lot of choices, for clothes. Going through school, I remember I had a choice of, brown corduroy pants or black corduroy pants. It's gotten a little better, but I always grew up in a house where the attitude was, if you want to try it, just do it.
Love that.
And there was always woodworking stuff there with my dad. There was always sewing machines there with my mom. And, they would do stuff together and they would leave us alone a lot. And I just started playing. So I learned the basics there. And, as we grew up and, we had kids and then those kids were out of the house. It's just like, all right, I'm looking for something to fill up my time and something to have fun with and something to learn. And I just gravitated back to the sewing and I'm like, all right, let me just make myself a shirt. And I made myself a shirt. And it's like, oh, I've never had a shirt like this before. And oh, it looks pretty good. And I'm getting a lot of feedback, a lot of compliments on it. So it kept going organically. And what's interesting is my sister, who's about a year and a half older than me, about the same time in her life, like at the same time, probably about a year and a half ago, she rediscovered the sewing machine and she started quilting. So she's going gangbusters on quilting. And so it's fun to watch our two lives just sort of come back together organically.
Yeah.
At the same point over the same thing. So that for me was what drove me to that. It was the frustration of just never really having a lot of fun choices.
That's amazing.
I've started and run a business before when our kids were younger, and it's all consuming. If that's your main job, it's all consuming, and it's just with you all the time, especially if it's home based. And I've got a career job, fundraising and social services. So I wasn't looking to give that up or replace it with something. So this is really a hobby. And my mindset has really been from the beginning, I need to figure out how to scale this up. I need to figure out how this is going to replace my income that I'm currently getting and make it more of a, okay, how can I get my hobby to, essentially pay for itself, bring a little extra money in, have some fun with other people. So that's been a bit of a different mindset versus I need to grow this and grow this and grow this so that it becomes my income.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's taken a bit of pressure off and it still remains fun because, I remember one of the first really mature things that one of our kids said to us. It was, really into podcasting, and her group was selling a lot of Patreon sponsorships, and it was getting to a point where some of them could actually draw a salary from it. And they're like, I'm staying a volunteer. I don't need to monetize my hobby because then it's not my hobby anymore. And it's going to be that different mindset. And I don't want that.
Yeah.
So again, that was interesting because that's kind of where I'm at now.
Yeah, absolutely. And remind us, what's the name of your business?
So it's Handmade by Mottel. So, a lot of your viewers would probably know the name from Fiddler on the Roof. Mottel, it all depends on how you want to spell it, pronounce it. But he was the son-in-law coming into the family, and he didn't want to be a rabbi, didn't want to be a farmer. And he went and he bought himself a sewing machine in the big city. He became the tailor, and everyone just threw him a parade, threw him a banquet. Well, they threw his sewing machine during the banquet. So yeah, so that's just a little bit of a nod to sort of where I'm at. It's like, I just want to do something, and it's a little different, and here you go.
Well, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but it might come as a surprise to everybody that I love to start new things. But I've always wanted to make my own clothes. And so since I was a kid, it's been on my to-do list. to learn how to sew. So I know I messaged you. I think you maybe thought it was a joke, but I'm serious about learning how to do this because I think if you can learn how to make your own clothes, again, you can customize it. It's all tailored to you. And tailorization is one of my favorite, or personalization is one of my favorite words. But when I was a kid, so we had a sewing machine, and maybe this is why I don't sew, is the first time I tried to, I was sewing a patch. My dad was in Scouts. And so we had all these patches and blankets and all these things. And I tried to sew a patch onto the blanket and I broke the needle. And that traumatized me, I guess, because I was like, I broke the machine. I don't know how to re-thread it. I didn't know all these things. And I'm like, obviously, I broke it within the first 30 seconds, and I haven't touched one since. That's it. And sewing on a button is a joke. It's like, I do it 400 times, and it's like a thick button by the end of, once I'm done, to make sure it stays on. I think it's a real skill in doing what you're doing.
It can be very daunting. Yeah, absolutely. And I just did a workshop with 5 kids through our local community center, just, making a little zippered pouch.
Amazing.
And the person who runs the makerspace, spent a lot of time in a professional sewing workshop. Like, she knows what she's doing. And she looked at me, she says, I am so scared of zippers. I'm so scared of them. I'm like, well, why are you scared of them? She's like, because the first zipper I put on was a metal zipper. And I tried to sew through it, and it shattered the needle, and just like the same thing. But it's like, all right, you know what? If it's a plastic zipper, you can sew through it.
Yeah.
If it's a metal zipper, you can't sew through it. So you learn for next time. And this is how you change it. This is how you change a needle.
Yeah. Well, y'all have to teach me. I need a new sewing machine, I think. I'm going to invest in one. I stare at them every time I go into the store.
Right there, Shayna. It's right there for you.
Yeah. For you, you're repurposing clothing, aren't you? Or repurposing fabrics?
So, that was one of my initial directions, getting into the business. And you and I had some interesting conversations, and, you sparked some really interesting thoughts that I hadn't really looked at before. It's easy for me to make a shirt, but the process of working with someone to make a shirt that they want, there's probably 1,000 decisions that you just never think of when you go in and you buy yourself a shirt. Like, well, what color thread do you want? What color buttons? Do you want different colored buttonholes? Do you want, do you want the collar a different color? Do you want the bottom of the collar a different color? And for some people, it can be overwhelming. But for some people, it's just like, this is my shirt. Like, is this going to be exactly what you want? And as I was doing that, I was also getting, hand crocheted shawls from my mother, whose grandmother made them probably out of just extra butcher twine that she had.
Wow.
And she's like, there's nothing I can do with this, but I'd really like, find me a white denim jacket, take the sleeves off to make a vest, and then, attach the crocheted scarf onto the front of it. I'm like, oh, cool, this is fun. And I did it, and it turned out great. And, I remember talking to you and saying, I can spend hours and hours and hours making a shirt that I could sell for almost, maybe a little bit above cost. Or I could spend some time doing stuff that is really meaningful to people. So, I've done a couple things with, repurposing family heirlooms. I'm doing right now is I'm untangling a 150-year-old wedding veil.
Oh my goodness.
From someone's great grandbaby, appliquing it onto a linen back so that they can use it as a chuppah for an upcoming wedding.
Wow, beautiful.
And so, you're sitting there and you're working away, but this is going to be, part of someone's family for as long as it lasts. So filling your time with some of those types of projects is really, it kind of keeps it going. It keeps the cups full.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And passing it on, generation to generation, because that everybody can use that going forward. So I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. And, I was talking to someone who, there's been a running joke in their family about strawberry shortcake.
What that mean? Yeah.
And I jokingly said, well, wouldn't it be really fun if you made your sister like a strawberry shortcake blanket or a shirt or a jacket and ha ha ha. Well, maybe that could be one of your first projects, Shayna. Who knows?
Oh, I love that. I might have to edit this out so she doesn't see it, but no. I don't know if you've seen it. It's come back in the store, strawberry shortcake. It hit it and all for my sister's birthday. We ended up getting a whole bundle of everything strawberry shortcake, and
Oh,
I've
wow.
never seen a 40-year-old happier in my life. But yes, I know we've discussed repurposing things. I don't know if I'll be allowed to touch anything, but I love the idea of it.
I just made a shirt for myself because I saw it online. It was someone was thrifting and they found like a really old tea towel, and it was like this huge rooster with a recipe for some chicken dish, and they made it into a shirt. I'm like, that's pretty unique.
Yeah.
I found one. I found a really nice new one in one of our local stores, and I made a shirt and I brought it in and I showed them, and they're like, oh my God, like I never would have thought about it. And someone told me, like, you know what? Fabric is fabric. I've made shirts out of IKEA bed set just because they're really, really nice patterns, and they're decent, decent fabrics.
Yeah.
It's doing these things a little bit differently that people just never really thought of. And again, it makes it all a bit more exciting for everybody.
Yeah. Well, I know that it's more of a hobby for you, but is there something about being a business owner that people don't see from the outside as you're building this or you're playing around on the back end?
It's going through school or going through webinars or just talking to people. You hear a lot of terms, growing things organically and scaling. Some of the things that you don't appreciate until you're in the middle of it and you have to really learn about it are, for me, because it's a hobby, I have to train my brain so it doesn't take over everything.
Yeah.
Because I still have a job to do. I still owe my brain power to my employer.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to do it because, again, that's also very meaningful work. But it's just, I love fabric. I love designs. I've got a wife who loves fabric and designs and the touch and the feel. And you see something, you're like, oh, that would make a great shirt. Let's buy it. Or this would be a nice blouse at some point. Let's grab it. And my brain it's sort of trained itself to say, okay, you know what? I can't sit on inventory. I'm not at the point in this business where I'm like, I have to just create 50 shirts so I can put them onto a shelf and hope that they sell.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a shirt when I know that there's someone there who needs it, and I will buy what I need for it specifically. And I'll have some leftovers and I can have some fun with that. But just being careful with the overhead and the inventory. Sometimes it's a losing battle. Sometimes you'll say, I'll never use that, and you don't buy it, and literally a week later someone says, oh, I really like that green you showed me. Like, oh, well, it was a remnant, it doesn't exist anymore, type of thing.
Yeah.
So that's one thing, is the constant equation of how much overhead and inventory do you want to keep? Are you comfortable keeping? It's also, how much do I want to push and advertise this? Because it's just me. Right. If I create more demand, it's me.
Yeah.
It's me now getting stressed about having 4 or 5 shirts to make in a week or two versus me working on 1 or 2 and then we'll figure out what's going on next. And again, because it's the hobby versus the job, I can give myself that grace of just saying, I'm just going to post things out because I want to share it. And people are happy with these things. And if it leads to something else, it leads to something else.
Yeah.
So it's growing organically, which means I have a bit more control over it. Because again, at the end of the day, the only thing I can scale up is my amount of time that I can put to it.
Right.
And that's limited. So,
or hiring people eventually so that you could do that.
Yeah, but again, that's the different shift. I was listening to NPR once. There's a show, I think it's called How I Built This. Anyways, they have very, very successful entrepreneurs on, like they had Mark Cuban on the other day, and they've got other entrepreneurs calling in and saying, this is my business. I'm limited here. I'm doing this. I want to go in this direction. What would you suggest I do? And it's just really interesting because they're looking at it from the top down. It's like, I've lived through all of this stuff. This is what you need to focus on. This is what you need to focus on. But what's fascinating is one person said, once you open up that second location in a different city, I think it was organic baby food. And a lot of the production, everything was held very closely in her hometown. And it was that market was great. She couldn't grow anymore. And he said, as soon as you make the jump and open up that second production and sales facility, you have to get yourself out of the kitchen.
Yeah.
You cannot be in the kitchen anymore. And he said, that is the hardest thing for people to realize and make the decision about is, I'm not the chief cook and bottle washer anymore. I'm the person administratively responsible for growing this.
Yeah.
I know how it all works. I know the pressures that these people are under. However, that's not my role anymore, and it cannot be my role anymore, because if I keep it my role, it's going to destroy me.
Right.
So now I'm telling myself that I have to do everything, and you can't do everything.
No. I mean, outsourcing, if people want to, in whenever they can, of course. I know a lot of entrepreneurs, especially the solopreneurs, are doing all of the things and growing every aspect of their business. Even for me, I'm a marketer by training, and to give somebody else my marketing, I could do 100%, but I have that control, and
Yes.
and my voice and all of the things that I do to putting it into. So I'm like, how do I give somebody my baby, right? And I train people to give other people their babies to take that on. So I understand, right, not the complexities, but like giving up that control. Because if you want to grow bigger and faster, there's things that you need to lean on other people. A takeaway that I had from a recent conversation was somebody that I worked with who was quite successful was great at delegating. And so in the back of my head over the last few weeks, I'm like, okay, so they got to where they got from delegating. So I'm like, how do I delegate more of what I'm doing, right? And so I think about that constantly. Again, if you have the means to do it, of course, it all comes with a financial cost, but it's a great way to scale if and when, you ever get to that point.
Yeah. And that's what's really important about what, part of what you're doing is building that community. It's because, I can delegate sewing to somebody.
Yeah.
But if that person doesn't know how to sew, then I'm shooting myself in the foot. So it's, how do you create a community around you that has those different skill sets that, okay, I've seen this person in action.
Yeah.
I've seen this person do really well. I've seen this person make mistakes, but learn from it and do differently next time. I will delegate to you because I trust you, because I've seen it.
Yeah.
And that's, again, that takes time. It does sometimes take a leap of faith.
Yeah.
But having a community of people around you that you can, you have a bit of flexibility you can maybe choose from is invaluable.
Agreed.
So, So who knows? Maybe you'll become an apprentice. I don't know.
I would love that. But for all of my community, if you're looking for any custom clothing, definitely make sure to reach out to David. And because obviously every time you post something, I'm like, what can I do? How can you make me a hat that fits my head with my ponytail and all the things that I have going on? And the prints that you're using, honestly, I love watching your journey through it. And again, I know it's your hobby, but to me, it's, it's that excitement every time you post. It means you're doing something and, you're creating something for somebody that's meaningful to them. So again, big reason why I'm doing this community. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing what you're doing. My last question is for you. What keeps you going during the tough days? Because I know you have a lot on your plate and you're juggling things. Is there a support system around you that you lean on through it all?
Yeah, because I am consciously or subconsciously sort of controlling the demand, I haven't had a lot of times where it's just keeping me awake at night. There have been some times where it's like, all right, I've got 6 things that I'm doing for other people and I've committed and they're paying me, so I need to do them. So it's like, all right, what are the little fun things that I've been working on for myself that I just have to put aside? It really comes down to prioritizing what you have to get out the door first. Working with my wife to teach her how to cut things out. If I need fabric for 3 more shirts, they're all larges, and here you go. Are there tools that I can invest in that will make that part of the process a little faster? Yeah, there's some things I can do. So there is a support network, but again, a big part of this business has been me saying to myself, I need to train my brain how to work things, because traditionally I haven't been.
Yeah.
You get really flustered and you just don't know where to start. It's like, well, it's an easy place to start. You just have to pick the one place you need to start, and everything goes from there.
100%.
Yeah.
I agree. That's so many pieces of life, is creating the priorities. You can only start with one. So make that list. So, all right. Well, David, if somebody wants to get in contact with you, what's the best way to reach you?
So the main platform I'm on is Instagram. So at Handmade by Mottel, Mottel. It's funny. I was coming up with the name, and traditionally it's spelled Motel. And I'm thinking, if you're not from the community, or if you're not aware or familiar with Fiddler on the Roof, you'd look at the label and say, Handmade by Mottel.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
So I took a little creative license and added an extra T. But yeah, at Handmade by Mottel, there's stuff there. handmadebymottel@gmail.com.
Perfect. So I'll link everything so people can look at all the things that you've created thus far and reach out to you if they're interested in getting anything custom made. So
Yeah.
thank you.
And thank you for again creating this platform. And I think you and I have both been watching each other grow our businesses, and making some course corrections when we need to, and admitting that maybe you're spending too much time revising a website that you just maybe don't, or chasing after orders that you shouldn't be chasing after. But thank you for opening the space, creating a platform, and creating a community. It's been nice to walk alongside while you're doing it.
Well, I appreciate that so much. And same, I feel like a proud mom over here watching what you're building.
Oh, and if any of you need business coaching, I can highly recommend 5-star Shayna Oster, because I did it with her for an hour just as I was trying to figure it out. And she listened to what I said and had some really interesting perspectives to give me, which really helped.
I'm glad. Well, thank you so much for that. All right. Well, everybody reach out to David, and I can't wait to see what he makes you next.
Great. Thanks, Shayna. Take care, everybody.